My name's Anthony Allen. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Anthony Allen Edits, the YouTube channel that is all about your editing so that you can tell the stories that you want to tell in the way that you would like to tell them with full creative control. And here in this video, we're going to be talking about some plugins and we're going to take a look at it right now. We're going to see how it works. We're going to see what we can do with the plugin. We're going to see what these filters are all about so that you can amplify your video editing within Final Cut Pro 10. So this is for Final Cut Pro 10 users. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's have a look at these filters to see how they work. Let's see if they're any good. And I'm also going to give you my opinion on the plugin and what these filters are all about. So let's get into it. So the plugin that we're looking at here in this video is called Lens Filters, and it's available at John Belew spelled BELEW.com. Now, when you go through your Final Cut Pro X plugins, you will find a plugin called Lens Filters. It says that it's on sale now. It's not actually free. It's actually $14.99. So we're going to have a look at what this plugin has available, what it can do for us. We're going to stretch it out within Final Cut Pro 10, and we're going to give you some more context on this plugin so that you can decide whether you're going to buy it. And I'm also going to give my opinion on the plugin as well. So it's going to be a really good video. I'm going to really enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let's get into it now. We're going to get into Final Cut Pro 10 and we're going to see these filters firsthand. Okay, so here we are within Final Cut Pro 10, and I've set up my Final Cut Pro 10 workspace to suit the task that we're doing now. If you're not sure how to do this and how to close windows and set your Final Cut Pro 10 like in the way that I am now, just to save you a bit of time, then have a look through my channel at Final Cut Pro 10 Beginner's Guide, which is a playlist on my channel. It should be called something around the sort, where you can find out how to use Final Cut from start to finish. And that should teach you the basics and should solve that problem for you. So now we're in Final Cut Pro 10. I have 3 clips imported into my timeline. I have one effect that I've created, which is a clone effect. You can learn how to do that on my channel as well. Good reason to hit the subscribe button. I have some stock footage here of somebody walking through some autumn leaves. I think it's autumn. That's my prediction anyway. Then I have another stock footage of a train passing by next to a beach. So on the right here in the effects panel, I've gone to Lens Filters for Final Cut Pro X. And these are the lens filters that we're looking at today. And you can see that there are various lens filters available for us to use. On average, well, let's count. So we're going to count how many lens filters we've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lens filters. Not too bad. So this is going to be quite interesting because I have a shot that I've done myself. There's been no color grading to this whatsoever. All I've done is basically a basic color match while I've been completing the effect. We've got the stock footage which has a little bit of color grading. You can see that the shadows have been brought out and the blacks have been brought out in the leaves. There is a slight depth of field where the character goes out of field. And then you've got something which looks like a raw shot with only minimal color grading, or just sort of saturation to the shot here. So we're going to see what the lens filters do to each individual shot. So what we can do is I want to have a look at some of the light street lens. That looks brilliant. I want to. So you can actually, like with the effects, you can scroll over the top of them to see what they look like. I like the look of that. That looks brilliant. But I want to see what happens to the inspector when I'm using this effect. So I've just dragged this in, and already you can see that the inspector has begun to populate. Now that lens flare technique is quite smooth. It isn't like there's no beams like really in the way. Like it sort of blends in. That's awesome. It sort of just blends in, so it makes the sky more or less light up. But what happens when we mess with the exposure? Okay, so now it starts to spill over a little bit. So it's basically like a spill instead of a beam. So although it's a streak, it's quite a neat streak because there are light streaks available in Final Cut, but it's actually like a broken streak and it's more like a solid line of light, whereas this is sort of like a round-ish sort of streak, which looks brilliant. I mean, let's move around with the exposure. You can pull the exposure up or down. You can see that it begins to sparkle a little bit and bloom when you actually turn the exposure all the way up. I want to see what that looks like when I press play, although everything's not rendered. That's a lot of light, isn't it? Wow. Okay. We put it down. So looking good so far. It's already improved the shot. Right, so now we've got our tint. So I'm going to pull the tint up on this. You can see that it's slightly tinting the light as well as the streak in this. So it is a real lens sort of applied streak here, as opposed to, you know, something that has loads of artifacts all over the shot and all sorts of stuff. Now the streak's already at 10, right? So I'm going to pull the tint down here so we can see the bright blue. I'm going to go for the softness to see what the softness does. So you can play around with the softness, and that should sort of dither the edges of the light. You've got the glow amount, so obviously the glow amount of the streak, it doesn't have too much of a spillover. You saw that it just sort of gave a glow to the edge of the streak here. You've got the angle, so you can completely change the angle. I'm going to try that. Not doing too much here because there's so much glow amount that you can't really see the angle change. It's just it's a case of tampering and messing around with things. What else have we got? We've got the intensity, so obviously we can have the intensity. Wow, you've literally lost the shot there to the intensity. It's like it's too intense. But if you notice, it's starting to brighten up the path, the walkway here, which is quite cool. Like just putting up the intensity has completely changed that shot into a completely different shot there. Makes it look like, oh, the heavens have opened. You've got the crop, you've got the mix. So obviously, always having a mix, toggling the amount of mix that you have is always good, because you can just lessen the effect as and when and how you like. You've got the colour fringing. It's a colour fringing here. The tint colour. So we're going to open up this and see what we've got. So obviously you can mix your red, green and blues, which is brilliant. So that's a really good lens filter there. So that's brilliant. I like that. It's a good, there's a lot to play around with the light streaks. So we're going to have a look at two more. We're not going to use all of them today. That one is always really cool. The reason why I like this, I'm going to see if it works correctly on my shot, see if I can do this properly, is because a lot of people use, where's it gone? Where has that gone? There was a fisheye. Yeah, here we go. A lot of people use this fisheye in a humorous way. So see if I can show you. So yeah, the fisheye effect and lens, that's sort of something you would think about in pre-production. So when it's normally used for comedic photography and all that sort of stuff, you can change the center actually. My bad. You can actually change the center and the position of this with an X and a Y axis. See, there we go. That's what I was looking for. So you can give yourself a bobblehead, which is normally quite comedic. I mean, I'll change the radius now, and you can see that it's given me a sort of bobblehead effect. But you can probably keyframe this, and that's something that PewDiePie has done within his videos. Like, you know that. So if I was to have it at 0 at the beginning of the frame, I could keyframe the radius now that I've got it in the right position. So from there to about here, and let's just make that radius bigger for that keyframe, and you should see the head grow. I want to talk. Here I am. Which is really funny. Like, I've always found fisheye lenses like really funny. I always thought it's for comedic value. So now this looks even better. Now this looks like my head has grown, and my other clone is just looking to say as if what has gone on there. Like, it's just like, okay, your head's gone big. Yeah, we get it. Yeah, you're talking rubbish. Yeah, okay, yeah. He even looks over. Like, that's hilarious. So look at that. He's looking around. That's hilarious. That's brilliant. I'm really glad I've been able to do that in this video. So that's obviously, I use fisheye most of the time for comedic value. I've been really happy that I've been able to show you that here in this video. What else have we got to work with? I mean, that is, whoa, sharper lens, right? You can sharpen things up drastically, which would be really good to layer that up with a different effect. What's we've got a fog. So we're going to go into the middle shot now. Fog lens would be great for an outdoor shot. So let's see what happens with this outdoors walking here. We're going to add the fog lens, and we're going to see what we can do with it. Right, so let's play this through with the unrendered clip with the effect applied. Hold on, transformations are going. Let's play this through. So it does give it a sort of fog look effect. It actually looks better. That looks a lot better. Right, so now we're going to mess around. So we're going to see what the amount does, the blend modes, the pivot. You can pivot the contrast. the brightness and so forth. So the opacity on this is actually set at 1.5 and it goes all the way up to 3.0. Right, so I've just put the fog up there on that. The softness is all the way up already. The threshold, obviously with a lighter threshold, you've got more light and things in there. You've got the contrast that you can play around with. Ah, yeah, it looks beautiful. That's beautiful. You can pivot the contrast. Right, so there's quite a lot you can do. You can't do this a lot of the time with the lens, because sometimes when you're filming on the go or you've set up a camera, and if you're, you know, you're not playing around, or you're playing with auto DSLRs and you've got it in auto mode and not manual, sometimes some of these things won't be available to you. So that's absolutely brilliant that you can toggle in post-production with these filters. I mean, if you look at that shot now, it tells a completely different story. I mean, this is the unrendered clip as well. It tells a completely different story. It gives the sort of effect like somebody's walking off in the distance, you're never going to see them again. And that's them walking off in the sunset to basically leave a scene at the the end of the story. That is absolutely brilliant. Really glad that I've been able to use that there. And obviously you've got the thermal, which is going to look weird now because I've got a different filter lens effect on top of this. So there are quite a few things to mess with here. These lens effects are absolutely brilliant. Like, there's a lot to mess around with. I mean, again, it's one of those sort of plugins and effects that on first value, while looking at it at first glance, you think, what's the fascination? What's the value to me? But when you get using these things, this is why we do what we do here on our channel like this, why we make videos like this. When you start to use these plugins and things that you have paid for, then you start to see the value. So I'm here to show you the value of these plugins available at johnbilliou.com. I've really enjoyed using these plugins, and this is an absolute brilliant buy for $14.99. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. It's well worth it. There's a lot to mess around with in terms of, obviously, you have the face value of what you've dragged on as the effect, but then you've got the amount of things that you can toggle and change. I actually didn't even mess with the blend mode here. So obviously you've got screen, but then you've got light, and it's actually your compositions blend modes, and it basically changes how the effect affects the shot. So darken, multiply, which is going to make slight thing invisible, which is what I don't know why you would do that. It takes off a layer and adds an alpha layer. You got soft light. You know, these things completely change the shot entirely. I mean, a hard light. I mean, there's quite a lot you can mess around with there. I mean, that looks beautiful. Look at that. It's a high contrast, high depth. I mean, that's just, I like the way that looks. You know, so there are more things to play around with, things that you can do with these plugins. Definitely well worth the download. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to have a lot of fun using these lens filters for Final Cut Pro X, available at johnbilliou.com. So let me know what you thought of these filters down in the comment section down below. Are these going to be filters that you're going to download for yourself? Is it a great plugin for Final Cut Pro 10? Do you enjoy the John Billiou website and what you've seen so far here on my channel? I want to know these things, and also the creator himself, John Billiou, will be checking out the comment section down below as well to see what people think of his plugin. And with that said, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can keep up to date with what's going on here on my YouTube channel, Anthony Allen Edits, as I upload every single day here on my YouTube channel and have something that will help you with your editing, whether it be picture editing, video editing, free editing applications, software applications, technology, everything to help you with your editing so that you can tell the stories that you want to tell in the way that you would like to tell them with full creative control. So with that said, I'll see you in the next video, as I upload every single day, so I've definitely got another one for you and it's coming right up, and I'll see you in that one. Thank you for watching. Peace.